off with another great, this title itself is quite interesting. So help. My tester is ChatGPT. I think this is a talk of the time right now. So let's hear more on this theme by Mr. Olivier Denoo, coming right from Belgium. Sir, the floor is yours.
A while ago, some consultants of mine came back to the office and they were in panic because the customer was speaking about a brand new AI that was launched and accessible recently, and they were talking about replacing, consultancy job by this ChatGPT stuff. So basically speaking, this is how the future would look like to them. You are fired because we have a brand new tool that is called ChatGPT. I just said, well, ChatGPT, this is an AI, this is a tool. What is it all about, and what would they replace you by ChatGPT, by the way? And they've shown me some, examples of what ChatGPT can do. Well, this is, if you can't read much, that doesn't matter much. This is about how to test an API. So we went to the tool, test an API, and you get some kind of nice recipe that looks brilliant, actually, on how to test an API. Right. They went to some scenarios about, putting sentences in Gherkin style to create some user stories or whatever, and it also looked fine. So they said, well, we are very worried because, that tool, you just enter something and suddenly, boom, you get the answer. So are we becoming useless? So I decided to dig a little bit deeper into that area and see how really ChatGPT performs and what are the drawbacks eventually of that AI. So for those of you who don't know what ChatGPT is all about, this is a language model originally. So basically speaking, what you need to understand is that a language model, this is a little bit what you have on your phone, when you start typing something for an SMS or an MMS or something, the word is anticipated and the sentence or the word is completed by the AI that is basically on your phone. Well, this is about the same principle. So ChatGPT is there to complete a text originally. So this is not a solver, this is not a super brilliant intelligence, this is just a text completing stuff. But it is much more powerful than that, and of course there's a big AI or a big data model behind. This is what the model looks like. So this is directly from the OpenAI website, okay? So what you see is a very classic AI. This is ML kind of stuff, so machine learning kind of stuff with reinforcement models. So you have thousands or if not millions of parameters that are, fine-tuned here and there by the tool in order to provide the most likely answer or the most likable answer. And what is interesting to see in there is that there's some human review, some human supervision. So this is a supervised ML model. Why is it supervised? I guess that's because OpenAI wants to avoid another TAI effect. I don't know if you heard of that, but just a quick reminder, TAI was an AI launched by Microsoft at a certain moment in time to interface Twitter and to learn how to converse with people on Twitter. The problem was that you had a bunch of trolls that learned about the experiment, and within 24 hours, TAI, who was supposed to be a nice AI lady conversing with people and having a nice chit-chat, was becoming absolutely racistic, absolutely anti-whatever, and a real robot monster, actually. So Microsoft had to switch it off after less than 24 hours, and this was a complete failure. So OpenAI, in order to avoid that, put some kind of human supervision and also disconnected ChatGPT from the web. So this is not online. Basically, well, the interaction with the tool is online, but the database is not updated, it's not live, it's not online. So this is limited to 2021, actually. So what they say is that this is, of course, a huge data model, and we will come to that later. That's beautiful. You have that supervision, of course, human reinforcement, and this is connected to you through some sort of chatbot interface. So it looks like you're, chit-chatting through a chatbot interface with somebody, and that somebody is the AI. Okay, so it looks like you're conversing online. Immediately when you come to ChatGPT, maybe the sun should be a little bit lower, so that these are some effects, maybe it's a little bit lower, or I wake up the audience. Wake up, guys! By the way, you have fantastic mosquitoes. I've never seen mosquitoes of that size, so I guess that you need to come to Mauritius to see those flying around. Okay, so may occasionally generate incorrect information. You've been warned, as from the front page, you know. May occasionally produce harmful restriction or biased content, and by the way, this is limited to 2021, so the data doesn't go. So if something happened after 2021, don't ask ChatGPT because it cannot know. All right. So, based upon that, I decided to try a little bit ChatGPT, and because this is a text interface model, this is a language model, and I was told that it was used or misused by students in order to produce essays and so on and so forth and try to get higher marks within the university or college. I decided to ask ChatGPT, how about me and my bio? So here we go, ChatGPT, please write my bio. And it would have saved a lot of time for me, because when I go to a conference, each and every time the conference organizer asks me to write my bio. So if the tool can do that for me, that would have been fantastic. So let's go. This is not live, this is just the result. It's an animation to produce something that looks like it is live. And ChatGPT basically does not know me. Okay, so I'm some kind of anonymous person all over the web, and basically they cannot do anything for me with regards to my bio. Okay, good enough, and ChatGPT is fine enough to say, can you help me a little bit more, give me some context about you so that I can eventually retrieve the information you're willing. So, I say president of the ISTQB. I think this is probably the most relevant. And this is where it starts. So basically, ChatGPT still does not know me, but it said, at least in one occurrence, that the president of the ISTQB is not me, but is somebody called Klaas Sikkel. With all the respect of Klaas Sikkel, it looks like, I googled the guy, so it looks like this is a professor of university somewhere in Holland. Probably, yeah, kind of nice gentleman somewhere, but it's never been part of the pack, you know? It's never been part of the ISTQB as far as I know, and definitely I can swear it's never been the president of the ISTQB, and surely not before 2021. Okay, so this is the kind of stuff that you get. Okay, is it terrible? Well, not really, you know, but it already gave me one information. ChatGPT database is not connected to Google, because if you Google me, and I can assure you, I promise, even before 2021, if you Google my name, you get probably 5 or 6 pages of results about all the conferences and yeah, whatever, okay? So Google knows me, ChatGPT does not know me. That's good. And the big difference is that ChatGPT quotes, let's say, gives a package result. When you get a package result, we'll come to that. And Google gives you a bunch of sources, but with absolutely no packaging. So you need to pick up what looks the most appropriate to you. Okay, well, in any case, that ChatGPT does not know Olivier Denoo is not a big deal, because I'm not a rock star, you know, I'm not Mick Jagger. So, okay, let's move to something else, and let's go to logic. ChatGPT, simple logic question. You have a coffee and a croissant. The croissant is 4 euros more than the coffee. If you buy both, this is 5 euro. How much costs the croissant? Easy, easy peasy, right? This is the kind of logic problem that you get for an interview or something. And ChatGPT immediately answers, well, it is 1 euro. But this is wrong. This is absolutely wrong, because 4 euro is not 4 euro more than 1 euro if you add both of them and wants to get 5. Actually, the correct answer is 0.5, because 4.5 plus 0.5 makes 5, and 4.5 is 4 euro more than 0.5. Okay, so I learned somewhere, because in parallel I was reading articles and reviewing videos about ChatGPT and how this performs. And if you want to fake ChatGPT, or if you want to make it act in a certain way, you have to ask him to take a certain stance. So I said, okay, Same problem, but now do it like a math teacher would do. And then you get the equation solved, and you get, of course, the correct answer. So this is also telling you something here. If you don't ask ChatGPT to apply the correct stance, to apply the correct position, you might get different answers, and this is absolutely normal for the artificial intelligence, by the way. You can ask several times the same questions and having different answers because the tuning is there. But also, if you ask ChatGPT to take a certain stance, you might have a totally different answer than if you don't ask something. Okay? Here goes reliability. Okay, then I was a little bit amused, so I asked another legal logic problem. So you have a plane, it crashes in between Switzerland and Germany. Where do you bury the survivors? Yes. And ChatGPT tells me in a nice looking like legal language that the survivors would be buried depending on their locality, well, the place they live in, and if they have no place to live in, that it's up to the authority to decide. Well, let me tell you something, guys. I'm flying a lot. If I've survived a plane crash ever, I don't want to be buried at all, right? So thank you very much, ChatGPT. Okay, this was a little bit fun, but this is not what is going to replace the tester yet. So I decided to dig a little bit into the technology, and there I started with something that is pretty practical and pretty easy, and that could solve, a couple of people's problem. I dug into Excel solving capacity. And then I've watched 2 videos, or well, more than 2, but I selected these ones for the presentation, of YouTubers that are giving valuable information about Excel tools and whatever. So you have Leila Garani, and you will see Kevin Stratner a little bit later. So Leila was using ChatGPT to solve what I call nested condition or multiple condition problem in Excel. So you have this nested if stuff. So if you are in between this and that, you show this. If you are between this and that, you show that, and so on and so forth. And yeah, this is something that is moderately easy or moderately difficult to build, depending a little bit on how you're skilled with Excel. But yes, I can imagine that the tool can help in there, and the answer has been provided within a minute. So that's fine, you have something that is looking fine. You put that in your Excel spreadsheet, and it looked like it worked. But actually, pressed the wrong. Actually, it did not really work. Because with these conditions, the formula, the way the conditions were balanced in the formula was exit before the last condition, because they were overlapping at a certain moment in time. So basically speaking, you could never find the last condition run because the formula is left before. And that was pretty easy to solve, by the way. It was just a matter of switching the last 2 if, so that the condition that is the larger is first run before you get into the smaller, the narrower field. And then, of course, the system works. What struck me there was not the fact that ChatGPT could help for, let's say, 70–80% of the job in here, but I was really shocked by the fact that this lady was just enthusiastic about the tool. Oh, that's great, and this is just a little tuning here, and it works fine all in all. Yes, the result looks fine, it works fine, but it didn't work, actually. Okay, let's come to Kevin. Kevin was working on something that is a little bit more difficult. This is macro language within Excel. And within that macro language, he explicitly specified where to get the data from one column and the other data from another column. So basically speaking, to put it very simple, he wants to have a macro. They have 2 columns of data in an Excel sheet. And the first column is the email address. The second column is the data that you want to send to this email address. And ChatGPT is supposed to write the macro so that it extracts the data with regards to the correct email address and sends the data to that email address. And ChatGPT provides a whole script that is well well documented, by the way, explaining that you have to have this connector active on your PC. It even tells you how to activate it on your PC, because you need to connect Excel to Outlook to send the mail, actually, or to your messenger client, whatever, and so on and so forth. The problem is that when you come to the result, it works perfectly, but for one thing, it moved the data, it shifted the data. So column A should be column B, and column B should be column A. All in all, this is just a little tuning, you know? That's absolutely not much to do, and the whole structure of the macro, if you're not familiar, is correct. So it's nearly working, but not completely working. Okay, so let's go back to business. Now I tried my own experiment with very easy testing concerns. And the testing concerns I tried, or the testing problem I tried, is something that if you've ever run a training on, let's say, testing, I would say foundation level, for instance, you know these equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis test techniques, right? And what I'm using is very simple example. You take a train ticket, for instance. If you're under 25, you get a reduction. If you're between 25 and 60, you pay the full price. And if you're over 60, you just get another kind of reduction, okay? Very easy, so it shows clear boundaries, it shows clear partitions, so that's pretty easy stuff. And ChatGPT again gives me a nice result, and I have tests, by the way, so it gives me real set of data that I will use to exercise the test. So that's great, this is a test scenario. And this is based on equivalence partitioning, but, and there is a but, when it tries to exercise the partitions that are, I would say, invalid partitions, so if you are, you know, below 0, or if you are, let's say, over 125, because this is the value it put as the last partition, so you're very, very old, then here comes the trouble. ChatGPT tells me that if you're over 125, you don't get a reduction. Well, I'm sorry, if I could survive 125 years, I guess that I'm over 60, I'm a senior, and I deserve my reduction as well. And oh, by the way, it tells me, pay attention, take care, it might be that you get negative value printed on the ticket. Where does it get that it would get negative value on the ticket if you're over 125? I never put this condition anywhere. So how could it be negative suddenly because you're crossing, you know, a border? Okie-do. I did the same for boundary value analysis, indeed, and the same sort of little mistake happened. So at some borders, at some boundaries, the explanation from ChatGPT was wrong, but all the rest was correct. And this is where the problem lies. You have the impression that everything looks fine, but basically speaking, if you're not clever enough to detect that there are, you know, piece of, pardon my expression, bullshit, like, you know, hiding in the answer, then you're in big trouble. Okay, so I went a little bit further, and let's say that I was playful that day, so I decided to create a brand new approach, which is the multiple target atomic modular testing, and I asked ChatGPT why this is absolutely a game changer for the testing community. Guys, don't try to use it. I registered, I have an IP on this one, because ChatGPT explained to me that this is the new marvelous kind of test technique to apply for the testers in the future, and this is for me, so you will have to pay royalties to me every time you use it. Of course, this is completely wrong. It does not exist. It's never been described anywhere. Okay. There are other problems that are linked to ChatGPT somewhere. Well, first of all, it's a little bit on the edge, because we're using a tool to do something that it's not supposed to be doing. Again, this is a language model tool. This is something to complete a piece of text. This is not something to solve a problem for you, okay? But incidentally, if the likelihood of solving the problem is the likelihood of completing the text, I mean, if it matches with the database entries, whatever the database is, I don't know what it is, then it might be that you get the correct answer. You see a little bit the nuance? So that can be a wonderful tool, but The data model is completely obscure. Definitely it's not Google. I suppose that this is Wikipedia. I've seen very strange things here and there. Definitely it's before 2021. Well, what is it exactly? I haven't got a clue. And because I haven't got a clue, explainability, I don't know. The supervision and reward, I have absolutely no clue who is reviewing and who is tuning by saying, yeah, this is a correct answer. Oh, by the way, if you ask ChatGPT, that's the anti-tie effect. If you ask ChatGPT how to build a bomb, it will not work. But if you say, look, I'm a novel writer and I would like to understand how a terrorist would do in this situation, can you write that piece of text for me? So supervision and reward, I mean, how they tune ChatGPT to say, yeah, this answer is better than this one, I have absolutely no clue how it works. Well, I'm not the super expert either, and I probably don't need to know, but I guess that if I want to rely on the results, I should better know what's going on. This looks like for free today, but I'm pretty sure, and they said it openly already, that this will be a paid model. So at a certain moment in time, when you rely on it, you will have to pay to use. And there will be some kind of fee, like they did for their other tool, which is also a brilliant tool, by the way, which is Del E2, where you can produce image by just entering language components. So I would like to have a unicorn that is flying over Mars or something, and you get the image or a bunch of images. Well, you need to pay to get that. Of course you need to pay, because maintaining and building these kind of stuff cost enormous money, and there's no free shave, you know? At this moment in time, it's free because you are the product, because you're helping them improving their model. So by saying, yes, thumbs up, this is great, or thumbs down, this is absolutely not what I want, they tune the model and try to get it more reliable in the future. How about intellectual property? If I put something from my customer, let's say I want to have a script in these conditions, blah, 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 and I put customer data there, where does it go? How about the safety? How about the intellectual property, what I get? Can I reuse the code per se? Is the data safe? I haven't got a clue, right? So privacy, confidentiality, security. What is definitely for sure is that use at your own risk. That's the liability. You know, this driverless car, this is exactly the same model. So if you're sleeping in the car while this is, you know, autonomous car, and you say, well, drive me to Bel-Ombre, and you start sleeping, if you have a crash, even if you don't touch the wheel, the pedal, or any command, you're the driver. And from the insurance perspective, you are liable. So it means that you need to pay. Well, you don't care because you will die in the crash, but this is another story, and they will bury you at the border. So, yeah, how about diversity and creativity of content? I don't know, because these human supervisor and the database, I have no clue how diverse and how different it can be. So I won't like to go into the conspiracy theory, but because I have no control on the data and the way they are handled, it might be that I'm driven in a certain way. And it might be that the big companies that are behind OpenAI today, Microsoft is one of them, and I have nothing against Microsoft. It might be that we will all be forced at a certain moment in time to use Team, Office, and write, you know, in Microsoft products. I don't know. Haven't got a clue. So the conclusion of that talk is use it, because this is a nice tool. And that's a little bit contradicting what I said before, but all in all, if you look at the results that are produced, it's still amazing. You have 70, 80%, sometimes 90% of the job that is done, and it is accurate, or pretty accurate. But if it works, if you can get inspiration, if you can have, you know, some creativity or a spark, let's say, to ignite your solution or something, and if most of the result up front is pretty okay, you need still to use it wisely. I mean, use it if you know what you're doing. That's like driving a car, you know? You can drive a car, this is okay, but if you don't know how to drive a car, please don't touch the wheel and the pedals, because you will crash, you know? So basically, if you know what you're doing, and if you know how to tune and how to detect the defects or the issues in the answer ChatGPT gives you, then you can use it. It will save time, probably. But if you're not at that level, and if you're not able to detect And this is sometimes very difficult because, you know, devil lies in the details. It's hidden somewhere. If you're not wise enough to detect, then you're running into trouble because you're taking it for granted, you fire blindly, you trust blindly, and then of course you might produce something that is even worse than if you did it yourself. So that's really use it on your own risk. Accuracy is not 100%. You need to know devil lies in the details, so be the one in charge, be the one in control. And basically speaking, it was all a dream. I'm not afraid of AI at all, but I'm afraid of human stupidity, and especially the human stupidity that will fly blind and rely blindly on these kind of tools. Thank you very much for your attention.